Tom Brady or Brock Purdy? We're going to get into that and all of the 49ers updates as we get ready for 49ers Buccaneers today here at Levi Stadium right after this. Hey everybody, Jack Hammer here at Levi. The big game will get started here at Levi Stadium. Big matchup here for the 49ers today against Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. Like I said, the 49ers looking to extend their current winning streak to 6 and trying to get to 9-4 on the season. This is a game that could be the final time that Tom Brady goes up against the team that he grew up cheering for. You listen to the reports. The possibility that Tom Brady could try to come to the 49ers next year. Who knows? Even if he's not with the 49ers, it's highly likely that the team that he's with next year or in the future won't be coming back to Levi Stadium. So this could be the final time, and he gets to square off against 49ers rookie Brock Purdy, who's going to be making his first professional start, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Buccaneers are coming into this game with a 6-6 record after they just defeated New Orleans on Monday night. Out in Tampa, 17-16. They were down 16-3 late in the fourth quarter. Brady connecting on a touchdown pass right at the end of the game to pull that one out. Tampa Bay has a feeling to me it's very similar to what the 49ers were last year. If you remember, San Francisco was 3-5 after the first 8 games. Got onto a roll, got to 6-6. And then after they got to 6-6, got to 7-6, and rolled on into the playoffs, and we got all the way to the NFC Championship game. There's a little bit of a feeling like that around this Tampa Bay team, at least from my perspective. So we'll get into that and go through my 5 topics, my 5 keys to this game. Wanted to shout out a few folks over here. We've got Spy Nick Danger in the comment section. We've got 916 says, hello, Jack. Hello, 916. We got Jesus M says, saludos, happy Sunday football. Absolutely. How's the weather? Jesus, we had a little rainstorm that blew through here a little bit earlier this morning, so everything's wet, but they're wiping it all down. The field looks good. It's in really nice shape. It looks like we're not going to have any rain until at least 3 o'clock time, so the first half is definitely going to be clear. Second half might have a little bit of rain, but it shouldn't be too bad. We have Lucas Pesci coming in, and he says, hey, Jack, I have a credential today. Looking forward to meeting you. Hey, let's hook up. It'd be awesome to see you, Lucas, and get to shake your hand. We have... It is sunny at the moment. We have Alan Elizer coming in. He says, happy Sunday, game day. Let's go Niners. Absolutely. So let's get into it. These are the things that I was, looking at this game for me. There's 5 things that jump out. The first one's going to be Brock Purdy against Tom Brady. Right now, Brock Purdy's going to be making his first NFL start. Everybody knows this. This isn't like I'm breaking any kind of news. And he's going to be doing it against one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I don't say that he's the greatest of all time because for me, I'm an old 49er guy who grew up watching Joe Montana. So as far as I'm concerned, Joe Montana is the greatest of all time. And if Joe Montana played in this era of football, he probably put up numbers better than what Brady has, especially when you consider if that group that he played with in the 80s with Jerry Rice and so on. That would be a hell of a group for today's day and age and the way that they cater to the offense. Now, one thing to think about here is that Tom Brady, he's undefeated in his career against quarterbacks making their first career start. So, you look at that, it's a little bit of a double-edged sword for Purdy. He and Brady are never going to be on the field at the same time, so it's not really like he's going up against Tom Brady. However, he's going to be facing a Tampa Bay defense, which is among the best in the league. I know we watch the 49ers every week. We think that the 49ers are the best, and statistically they are. They are giving up the fewest points per game and so on. So 49ers are definitely the best, but Tampa Bay isn't far behind. They come into this game allowing only 18.5 points per game, 5th lowest in the NFL. They have guys at all levels of that defense, which are studs. And we're going to start off on the defensive line where you have Vita Vea, the interior of that line. The Buccaneers just make life miserable for opposing quarterbacks. Tampa Bay averages 3.2 sacks per game. That's actually higher than what the 49ers do at 3.0. And the Buccaneers average 3.3 sacks per game on the road. So they're actually better at getting to the quarterback on the road than they are at home. Probably has a little bit to do with the quiet and being able to hear the snap count and all those kind of things and start to time it up a little bit easier. The Bucs, they're going to be without their starting safeties, Mike Edwards and Antoine Winfield. they've both appear to be ruled out. And with them not on the field, it's going to be veterans Keanu Neal, Logan Ryan. They're going to be at the back end of that secondary, but it's still a pretty good group. Neal and Ryan, long-term veterans, started for Tampa Bay last week against New Orleans. You saw what they did there. And then you add in the speed and the playmaking ability of the linebackers. We talk about Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner as being the best linebacker duo in the league. White and David really are right there as well. You can see why with their speed, their ability to run plays down, Tampa Bay's allowed the 5th fewest net yards per pass attempt in the year to this point. They were allowing only 5.4 net yards per pass attempt. So remember, net yards per pass attempt is you take all the passes, including their sacks. That gives you the number of attempts. You take all the passing yardage minus the sack yardage, and that gives you the net yards. So when I'm looking at a defense and I'm trying to see how good a defense is or an offense is when it comes to passing the ball, I feel like the net yards per attempt is the best indicator of how a team plays, because that shows you that takes into account their sacks and all those types of things. So their ability to protect the quarterback, the ability of that quarterback to get the ball with his hands quick, everything plays into that. And Tampa Bay's got the 5th fewest. Miami last week was a little bit higher. I think they were like 8th or 9th. Excuse me for the cough. But even then, so that's what Purdy's going up against. He's going up against a really good defensive line, a really good linebacker group, a really good secondary, an overall defense that's 5th best in the league when it comes to yards against them when it comes to passing. This is a matchup that really does not favor the 49ers all that well. And I think, you look at this one for Purdy, I think this could be a little bit of a rough game. We'll see how it works out. But the main thing for him is that he needs to hold on to the ball. He needs to get the ball out quickly. He needs to get the ball out to his playmakers, let them make the plays. That's where the screens and the short passes, those kind of things come out. And then if they can do that, and they can get Tampa Bay on the run, then they can come off of play action and throw over the top and some of those types of things. But really for this one, this is going to be a really tough game for Brock Purdy, in my opinion. There's been a lot of talk this week about Brock Purdy versus Trey Lance and Brock Purdy versus Jimmy Garoppolo and how similar Brock Purdy is to Jimmy Garoppolo and yada, yada, yada. And there's people that are comparing the numbers between Purdy and Lance and all these kind of things. Trey Lance never started against a team like what we're going to see today. Arizona last year in his first start might be about as close as this one, but I don't even know if that's an apples to apples as far as how good this defense is that Brock Purdy's going to play today. But you know what? Hey, that's the way life is in the NFL. He needs to come out, he needs to make plays, and he needs to not screw it up for the 49ers today. That's really what it comes down to. We'll get into a little bit more on that in a minute. Raphael 569ers, like and subscribe, everyone. If you could do that, that'd be fantastic. Brian wants to make sure everybody hits that like button. Same with Raphael, but my toolbox guys ready for it. And Brian also says, "What's up, Jack? Hey, how's it going, man? It's good. We're here at Levi's. The sun is out. It's going to be nice weather for most of this game. So there you have it. The first one is going to be Brock Purdy and how he's going to do. And then the second one, it's got to be the other quarterback, Tom Brady. I look at this one as a homecoming game for Tom Brady, right? He grew up in the area. Shocker. I'm sure you haven't heard that yet, that Tom Brady was a 49er fan when he was growing up. I just learned that last night for the first time. Just kidding. But it's good. This is going to be Brady's first game against the 49ers since 2016 when he was a member of the New England Patriots, and they came in here like kind of later on in the season. And they won that game 30-17. You might remember that game. It was similar today, kind of a cloudy, rainy, dreary kind of day. It was much more rainy than it is today, but it was a cloudy and rainy day that day as well. You look at Brady's numbers this season, they're down a little bit, but not that much. And partly they're not down that much because he throws the ball so much. He throws the ball a lot. Tom Brady, the Buccaneers have thrown more passes than any team in the NFL this season. Kind of shows you that I think a part of the reason why they throw it so much is because they have their quarterback helping call the play. So I think that plays into their offensive scheme a little bit there. we look at his numbers, they might be down, but he's showing the ability to still come through in the clutch. Monday night's game against the Buccaneers as one example. And then you look at the weapons that he has, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans on the outside. They give Brady a pair of dependable receivers out there. That's going to give a tough matchup for Charvarius Ward and Diamondor Lenore there, Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Godwin more of the top, take the top off the defense kind of guy. Evans more of that possession guy. Big, tall receivers, I think, that could give the 49ers cornerbacks some trouble today. And then Purdy, Brady likes to, he doesn't take sacks. He only has, he doesn't have very many sacks. He doesn't throw interceptions. And a big part of that is because he checks the ball down quickly. He knows where everybody is on the field. He gets the ball to his hand. So, while he's got Godwin and Evans as his deep guys, he also has Julio Jones as well. Don't forget that guy, even though he's a little bit longer in the tooth. But when it comes to the underneath, he has tight end Cade Otton, running back Leonard Fournette, two guys that he can easily check the ball down to, just keep the ball moving. You just kind of keep matriculating the ball down the field there a little bit. So for Brady, I look at this one as a game which really suits him. This is, there's some issues with the Bucs in that they don't have one of their starting tackles in this game. They don't have their they don't have the tackle that they drafted back in 2020, the year that the 49ers traded with them to trade back a spot. They traded up and grabbed the tackle. The 49ers decided to trade back and grab a defensive tackle. But that tackle's not playing today. Normally, you would think that'd be a problem. We'll see how that works out. Brady just gets the ball out of his hands so quick that he makes it tough. And Randall says, so Jack, needless to say, if Birdie balls out, you will be pleasantly shocked. Yeah, I will be surprised if Brock Purdy comes out and he has a game like he did last week. If he comes out and is completing 70% of his passes or 65% of his passes, whatever, doesn't have an interception. If he plays anywhere near what he did last week against Miami, I would be a little surprised. I think we're going to might see a little bit of a downturn, but who knows? We don't know enough about Brock Purdy. That's the whole thing. There's just been so much positivity about his game, and as a jaded somebody who's watched enough football and is jaded by the fact that you see guys come out and play games like what Purdy did last week, and then followed that up the next week with just a not good performance. I'm on the fence with Brock Purdy. I'm not going to say he's the next coming of anybody. I'm not saying he's going to be awful. We're going to find out today, but I would be a little surprised if this is a really solid game for Brock Purdy. We'll see. We'll see how it turns out. That's why we're here. That's one of the fun things about sports. We get to go out and watch it play out. And then back to the 49ers offense. Can the 49ers take advantage of Tampa Bay on the ground? Tampa Bay's defense, if they have any weakness, it's going to be their run defense. They've allowed opponents to gain they gain 4.5 yards per attempt. That's 19th best in the league. So they're not very good against the run, 4.5 yards per attempt. But despite that high average allowed, Tampa Bay's they've done a really good job of keeping teams out of the end zone on the ground. They've only allowed 7 rushing scores. So Tampa Bay, much like the 49ers, they give up a lot of yards in between the 20s, but down in the red zone, they really constrict and they don't let you get in. And you look at this one, and like I said, 4.5 yards per attempt, 19th best in the league. And your first thought probably is, the 49ers should be able to take advantage of this this defense on the ground. They should be able to make some hay on the ground. But then you take a look at what the 49ers offense has done on the ground over this season in particular. They're only averaging 4.3 yards per attempt on themselves. So you have the 19th ranked run defense in yards per attempt in Tampa Bay going up against the 19th ranked rush offense in San Francisco when it comes to yards per attempt. So Tampa Bay averages 4.5 yards allowed. Niners are averaging only 4.3 yards per attempt. So neither one of these teams have been really good on the ground when it comes to 49ers running the ball, Tampa Bay stopping. That's partly why you see the 49ers so pass heavy this season. This game, like last week, for example, and you look at this offensive line, the 49ers rebuilt it this offseason. New left guard, new center, new right guard. Even if you have Brunskill, who kind of rotates in there a little bit, but he's still not the starter usually. It's usually Spencer Burford. This offensive line is pretty good when it comes to pass protection, but when it comes to running the ball, they just don't move anybody. They're at center. Drake Brendel doesn't typically get any kind of a push when they run their zone gap, their gap scheme. When they run their zone scheme, it's a little bit different. Same thing with Aaron Banks at left guard and the right guard spot. We saw that last week against Miami. There were several cases where you see the 49ers at the point of attack just get beat. You see the white jerseys across the line of scrimmage instead of the red jerseys. And you saw the Dolphins be able to shut down the 49ers, in particular in short yardage situations. The 49ers, they had 8 third down conversions. They were 8 of 19 overall. They were 7 of 11 on third down through the air. That means that the rest of it, they were 1 of 8 in converting on third down on the ground. So the 49ers run game really leaving a lot to be desired in these short yardage situations. That's why, again, we see the 49ers struggling in the red zone. That's why we see them struggling at times to convert short yardage type of situations on the ground. So if the 49ers are going to be able to take advantage of this defense on the ground, it's going to be a change of what we've been able to see them do most of the year. These teams that are these good defenses, they've struggled against in that situation. They had a good game against Arizona. You know, you see every once in a while they have these good games, but for the most part, it's not been that good. And so one other thing to think about is that Tevin Coleman is going to be active today. Tevin Coleman pulled up from the practice squad. What's going to happen in the backfield? We know Christian McCaffrey is going to start. I would guess that we're going to see Jordan Mason as the second guy off the bench. But Tevin Coleman, they don't activate him just to be a third guy special teamer. So I think you might see more of Tevin Coleman than you would see otherwise. Coleman, kind of a grinder back in between the tackles. He's really good in pass protection. So I think, you know, one of the things I've seen is a lot of folks talking about this being a run-heavy game. I think Tevin Coleman we'll find out, might even actually signify that this is going to be more of a pass-heavy game and that they need another back in the backfield that can pass protect. So especially with all the blitzing and moving around and the pass rush that you get from Tampa Bay. So let's keep an eye on that as we go through this game today as well. Nick Bosa will be playing. We'll get into that one in a second. Just looking through. Hey, Luke, good to have you on board, Lukey Walsh. Let's see what else we got. Randall O'Reilly. Randall says Godwin won't have time to take the top off, Jack, and as far as the other physical wide receiver Bucks have that plays well into our also physical background. I hear you. I think there's a lot to like about the 49ers defense can do in this game. So don't get me wrong. I think this is a game that really plays into both teams' strengths. I'm going to get into my fourth topic, and my fourth one is, you know, I didn't know this when I wrote it, and so it's a little bit different now, but the question was, will Nick Bosa play? That's the question that I asked yesterday when I wrote up my pregame points. We know that Nick Bosa is going to play now, right? We know that he's going to be out there. He hasn't practiced all week. He's been dealing with a hamstring, but we know that he's going to give it a go today. Nick Bosa has been a stud all season long, all year long. You look at what Bosa's been able to do. I believe what the numbers were that I looked at is he has a sack in every game that he's played that he's finished. The only game he didn't have a sack in was Carolina. He left that game at halftime. But every other start that Nick Bosa has made this year, he has at least one sack. When Nick Bosa plays alongside Eric Armstead, he usually gets multiple sacks. You look at the 2 games that Nick Bosa has had more than one sack this season. I believe it was week 4 against the Rams, and then last week here against Miami. Both those games had Eric Armstead on the field alongside of him. So Nick Bosa could be a big piece of this game. No Tristan Wirfs. That's the offensive tackle that is the offensive tackle that is out today. He was drafted one spot ahead of Javon Kinlaw. He's been a really good right tackle for Tampa Bay. He's not going to be out there. I would look to see Nick Bosa probably lined up on the left side of the 49ers defense, maybe a little more often than usual, to try to take advantage of that matchup. It'll be one of those things for Bosa to have a big impact in this game. It's really going to. I apologize for all my coughing. Still getting over my cold that I had at the beginning of the week. But if you look at for Tom Brady, he gets the ball out so quick. What the 49ers are going to need to do, and it's very similar to last week, is they're going to have to be able to shut the Buccaneers down on first and second down, get them into 3rd and 7 and longer. That's where the pass rush comes in. The pass rush probably isn't going to get to Brady very often on first and second down because and those are downs where he can get the ball out real quick. So as far as Nick Bosa's ability to make plays today, that's going to be a big key for the 49ers because that's where most of their pass rush comes from. And again, I think a lot of Bosa's ability to make plays is going to come from what they do on first and second down. Stop the run, force Brady into third and 7 or longer, and that's really where you can start to come around. Randall Riley says 2+ today for Bosa, so he thinks he's going to get at least 2. That's a good one. So I think that's pretty good there. Rick, I need to have some water. I'm okay. I'm fine. I need to drink some water. That's the problem. I haven't had any in a little bit, so I need to go get some as soon as I'm done here, but I'll be fine. And then the last one, really quick, the last one, and this one's an easy one because I talk about this all the time. It's probably one of the most boring topics you can talk about, but really when it comes to the 49ers, this is the one thing you guys could probably all say it with me. Who wins the turnover battle? When in a 49ers game, 9 times out of 10, the team, if they lose the turnover battle, they lose the game. If they don't lose the turnover battle, the 49ers usually win the game. And you look at this one today, this is a matchup. You have 2 really good defenses, right? You have the top defense in the league in the 49ers. You have the 5th best defense in the league in Tampa Bay. So really good defenses, really tough there. And then you look at the quarterback position. One defense is facing off against arguably the greatest quarterback of all time in Tom Brady, and the other team is facing off against a guy that's making his first start. No offense, Brock Purdy, but you're making your first start. And for the 49ers to have any chance to win this thing, they need for Purdy to not screw it up. He can't turn the ball over. That's the whole thing. Because when you look at the 49ers since the start of 2021, they've only lost 3 times in games when they don't turn the ball over more than their opponent. So that's a big piece of this whole thing. And you look at the other side of the ball, when you look at Tampa Bay, they have Tom Brady, who, like I said earlier, he's thrown the most passes in the league this year, but he has also only thrown 4 interceptions. So they throw the ball a lot. They don't throw picks because Brady does a good job of hitting those checkdowns. So the 49ers in this one, you look at Tampa Bay, they don't turn the ball over. They only have 11 turnovers this season on offense. On the defensive side of the ball, they've only turned over their opponents 11 times. So they don't turn it over very much. They don't force turnovers very much. It's going to be a tough one for the 49ers to win this one based off of, especially if they make mistakes. And the mistakes are where it can really cost them. Again, those turnovers, and that's where, when it comes to Purdy, that's the whole thing. When you look at what happened with Nick Mullins and all the times, there's been a lot of talk about Tom Brady's, well, not Tom Brady, but boy, look at that. That's a bad slip right there. Jimmy Garoppolo, right? You look at Jimmy Garoppolo's record with the 49ers compared to everybody else that started for them since Kyle Shanahan got here. But the biggest reason is they win the turnover battle more often than not with Garoppolo. You look at a guy like Nick Mullins, and I've said Brock Purdy reminds me a lot of a mobile Nick Mullins with what he does. You can make some really good plays, but then all of a sudden you're like, you get a what the F play, right? That's why I make that comment. So if he just doesn't make the stupid Nick Mullins type of mistakes, the 49ers are going to win. And I think like Randall says over in the comment section, he says 0 turnovers equal win. And I agree with you on that. And then as far as my prediction for the game, here's Jack's big reveal. I'm going 49ers 16, Buccaneers 13. Now, if you read my article on the Press Democrat earlier this week, before the game on Friday and Saturday, the preview article that I wrote, I had 49ers losing 13-16. But the reason I had that was because Nick Bosa not playing. Because with Nick Bosa out, not on the field, that 49ers defense has shown they're not quite the defense that we are used to seeing. So because Nick Bosa's out there, I'm flipping it around. I'm going to say 49ers 16, Buccaneers 13. I really think this is going to be one of those games. You need to buckle up. You need to be ready. If you whatever it takes for you to get through a really tough game, that's what you need to be prepared for today. Because I think this is going to be very similar to Week 3 against Denver. It's going to be very much a physical defensive battle. You're going to see a lot of 3 and outs probably by both sides, or not a lot of down the field, like not a lot of plays moving up and down the field for either team. I think you're going to see teams kind of get stuck on their own side of the 50. Not a lot of scoring. I would be surprised if there's more than I'd be surprised if there's more than 30 points combined scored in this game. So buckle up, have a good time. It's going to be a fun one here at Levi Stadium today. 49ers 16, Buccaneers 13 is my prediction. I just want to say thanks to everybody who took the time to log in. I apologize for the screw up on my end in terms of the time. I think I had set it on as a start time of 10:45 p.m. when it's actually was supposed to be 10:45 a.m. Had some issues with my location today, but it worked out. And here we are. I will be back after the game with my post-game show, probably about 6 o'clock, somewhere between 6 and 6:30. So keep it locked in here to the channel for all those for post-game show. Make sure you get the 49ers.pressdemocrat.com. Follow the live blog there. I'll have updates and information throughout the game. It's just going to be a really fun, interesting game. And then real quick, like Luke Walsh said, my concern is the next two opponents are good at winning games. They don't dominate on a play-by-play basis. Absolutely. So that's where that's where those turnovers come into play, Luke. You got to be able to hold on to the ball, make big plays at key moments of this game, and that's what it's all going to be about. So thanks for everybody for watching. Do me a favor, hit that like button on your way out. If you're watching this, you're not even subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Let your friends and family know so that they can check out the live blog over at the Press Democrat today, and then or check out the channel as well. So thank you, everybody. I'm going to head into the stadium now. Talk to y'all soon. Enjoy the day.